Hi everybody and welcome to Barefoot Radio, the show that aims to guide and support you in connecting, transforming and growing in all things love, soul and spirit. I am your host, Leanne, the Barefoot Medium. I'm an international medium, twin flame, transformational coach and author who is absolutely passionate about reconnecting people with loved ones who've passed over, as well as providing you with practical knowledge and guidance, tools and techniques you can use in your everyday lives to embrace what you love and what brings you into connection with your joy so you can be more of your authentic self. Now, feel free to kick off your shoes, sit back and relax and enjoy today's episode where I am joined by Karen Chaston, a former corporate chief financial officer and creator of Live Love by Design, which offers online and offline programs, books, online TV shows, and podcasts. Karen brings her unique perspective, strategic approach, combined with her extensive business experience, financial expertise, and hard-earned wisdom from her personal suffering and disappointments to support women specifically to heal from their major life events, allowing them to easily shift their focus from stress and worry to freedom and joy. Not only is Karen here on Barefoot Radio to share her story, we will also be discussing what it means to live love by design. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you, Leanne. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited to explore this topic with you and to share some wisdom and knowledge with our listeners today. So tell me a little bit about, let's start with the challenges and disappointments. Let's talk about how you've come to be doing what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I wish I had this knowledge when I was 20, believe me. Life would have been so much easier. But I guess we have to live our life as ego-based in order for us to actually come back to our inner wisdom and our true self. But so as you said, I rose the corporate ladder. I did it a little bit differently to most people. I didn't even study till I was 38 when I went to Bond University on the Gold Coast, which was an amazing university, and I got my master's in accounting degree. And then I sort of took off and very quickly became a CFO of a publicly listed company, though I lost me in the process and I didn't even know. I did not even know. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I do now, is because most people don't realise that they're being this corporate executive but they've just drifted so apart from the true who they are. So my wake-up call, and I do literally mean it's a wake-up call because I refer to those days as me living in a Groundhog Day days and just not realising so much. But anyway, I had to get 2 wake-up calls because I was so entrenched. I literally needed 2 to wake up. And I'm pretty sure if I didn't wake up after the second, I'd still be getting them. That seems to be the way the universe works, doesn't it, Leanne?
Absolutely. And I can so relate to the climbing the corporate ladder and the wake-up calls, and we'll share a little bit about that as well. So we've shared a similar experience in that way.
Yes. So my first wake-up call came on the 10th of July, 2011, when my husband and I, it was a Sunday morning, and my husband and I literally thought we were going to have a lazy day at home. And as I was starting to look what to have for breakfast, my husband went outside to take the garbage out, and he quickly called back, "Bloody hell, Dan is asleep at our back door." Now, Dan, our 27-year-old son, who did have a habit of drinking too much, but he always made it home to bed. It really sent alarm bells ringing. And unfortunately, he wasn't passed out. He had passed away.
Yeah. Wow.
Which wasn't good. But me being my corporate tough self, I literally went straight back to work, which in hindsight was very disrespectful to him, very disrespectful to myself, But I knew how to be a CFO. I didn't know how to be a grieving mother. I didn't want to be a grieving mother. So I just carried on and really eating more, drinking more, working more, because it was just easier to just carry on, to be quite honest. And, of course, as I said, the universe wasn't happy with me just carrying on. It was meant to be, hey, wake up, start doing what you're meant to be doing. And then, of course, 18 months later, the second knock came in the form of me choosing redundancy when the two companies were merging together. And I was told very early on in the merger process that I wouldn't be the CFO in the new company. I would be more or less doing everything I'm doing now and probably a little bit more. And I really didn't care initially until they decided to say, well, you can have 2/3 of the salary for what you're going to do because you don't have the title anymore. And that suddenly was the best thing that ever happened to me, because even though I was in that Groundhog Day and I was unhealthy and I was, not living my life the way I should, I had enough inner wisdom and enough inner sense to actually go, I'm only here for the money. Like, that's what's keeping me going. And if you take that away, why am I working so hard and giving my life to you when really there's not even any respect now? Like, how can you take away 5 years of me working for this company? And one of the things they said to me was, we're going to ignore that. Everyone goes back to bases. It's like you're starting a new job. And I'm going, but how can you ignore that? Like, you know how hard I work. You know that I have given up most of my life for you. And it was a really good wake-up call, because it helped me to actually go, okay, let's sit back and let's actually find out where you're going. I was definitely living the adage of I spent my health to get my wealth. And I knew that I would be eventually spending my wealth to get back my health, which is utterly ridiculous.
Wow. And, there's so much in there that I want to pick up on, Karen. And,
go for it.
I firstly want to acknowledge, yes, I am a medium, and yes, I do connect with people who've passed over. And one of the beautiful things that while you were sharing the story about your son, I had amazing goosebumps going on and that connection. So the thing that I want to say to you is that, that sudden experience of grief and what you experienced is what a lot of people go through with losing a loved one, and especially when they're young. Yes. It seems to be a lot more, not easier, but different experience when it's a person who's older and has had a long life. So we not only grieve for the person that's not here, we grieve for those experiences that they've not yet had the opportunity to have in life. And, you stepping back into that corporate world and what you do best is what people do to cope. And it's a normal experience of grief. So I want to thank you for sharing that, because it is really important that our listeners know that sometimes going back to work and doing what you do is a way of coping. And when you're ready to experience the emotion, the pain and the suffering that does come up with grief, and there's no denying that.
That's correct.
That you will experience it. So I want to say to you as a medium, let go of the guilt around that. Because
I think I have. I have a fair bit. Oh, look, I honestly spend more time with Dan. Yeah. He's with me every day than I do with his two brothers.
Exactly. So, it's beautiful that you're sharing that experience and that you're allowing what was, an experience that was painful for you to support others. So that's the gift in it. And, as hard as it can be, there is always a gift in in someone leaving this earth for their own soul and for the soul of those left behind. So
I totally agree. There's so many lessons that you learn, and there's so much a new perspective, new awareness that actually comes if you choose to look for it.
Yeah.
Like, everything I've done, I credit Dan with. Writing books, writing programs, everything that I've done. I honestly believe that, the idea has been formed by him whispering.
Yeah. And that is the gift in grief and loss is, shifting our consciousness and our awareness to the fact that life does continue after we pass.
Oh, totally.
Soul in a physical body, and our gift is to learn to communicate in different ways with those souls that are no longer with us in the physical world.
Oh, and to look for the signs, because they're always there. Just recently, Dan's twin brother Josh got married. He got married twice. He got married in Poland, and then he got married in Australia, in July and then in October. And they live in Brisbane. Yep. And they there's a photo from the Gold Coast wedding where they actually, there's a group photo of everyone there, and zooming in, there's Dan. Yep. You see him in the photos. You can also see my dad in the photos, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that, and I wanted to acknowledge, his presence that I felt as well with you. So, so that's a really interesting experience that allowed you to step out of that corporate and, really coming into that redundancy and allowing you to make a choice.
Yes.
Is this the life I want to continue living, or do I want something different? So talk to me about how you created Live Love by Design and how that came about.
Well, it's been a 5-year process, and it took me, as I said, I did not realise how diseased I was, and it took me quite a few years to actually come back to who I am, to actually find what I wanted to do. And, I had a little, I went down a couple of, I'm not going to say wrong paths, learning paths that I thought were going to be the way I would go. But they were just learning paths. And Live Love by Design has come all about through the things that I've learned. I like to call it, I've been in life's university and learning a lot, having new perspective, having new awarenesses. And that's how I brought the Live Love by Design together. And it's all about you understanding that in my model, I have 9 areas of life. And I like 9 because 9's all about the birthing process.
Yeah.
And the 9 areas, it can be a bit much to remember. So I've brought them down into 4 pillars, which is all about you, all about your relationships, all about your expertise, and all about your wealth creation. Now, most people seem to get that around the wrong way. They sort of think, okay, this is the wealth that I want to create. What expertise do I need to do to get that? Sure, I'll get a little relationships along the way, and then I'll worry about me. And it doesn't work that way. And it may for a little while, okay? It may for a little while, but eventually you will come back, you will burn out, you will actually come into resentment, into bitterness. What about me? When am I going to live my life? Am I living my life, or am I living everyone else's life? And you look around at people, and especially a lot of men, they're working to get all these things for their family, but they're not having the relationships with their family that they want. And, it comes back to that the song, I can't even think of the name of it now, where the father's always working and he says to his son, we'll get together when we can, and all that sort of stuff. And then the son grows up and he's exactly the same. The dad's now retired, ready to have time with him. He's going, no, I'm busy now, Dad. And it's just like so many people are living that life and it doesn't work. And that's what it's about. It's bringing it back to you so you understand yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. You've got to understand all of you in all of those areas, Because when you do, you choose different options each morning. You will look after yourself first. You will become a better person. You'll be more aware of who you are. So then you can form the relationships that are more loving, that are more giving.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's what life's about. We give, but sometimes we give at the expense of saying no to ourselves, which isn't good. And
I really love how you bring that, you know, the importance of being about you first. And it's, you know, a lot of people are told that message about it being selfishness, but it's not. Yeah. It's about you're the foundation of your life, your business, your financial world. You're the foundation of your relationships. And if you're not feeling stable, solid, healthy and well, then you bring you to every experience and every connection and every situation that you have, and you're bringing that energy with you. So totally. I love how you bring that in. And, you know, I think we get so caught up in the to-do lists and the, like you said, the giving to everybody else, and men do it as well, but particularly women. Biologically and DNA-wise, we're programmed to nurture and give, but we have to learn to do that for ourselves and understand what is it that we need. Yes, totally. And most of us don't take the time to actually sit and ask ourselves that question. Yeah. And one of my great questions is, are you living like you love yourself? Yeah. Are you eating like you love yourself? Are you exercising like you love yourself? You know, all of those things are really important, because most people would say no. And as you said, if you're not loving yourself, how can you love anyone else? Like when you're angry or when you're tired or when you're sort of in resentment, that's the emotions that you're going to bring to every other relationship. I was talking to a client the other day, and she was saying how she was like screaming at her kids, and it was all because she had no part of herself left for herself. And she just felt, I'm being pulled in every single direction, and all I'm doing is screaming, and that's not good for the kids. Yeah. Like, it's not their fault. And when she started working with me, we started to put the rituals in place where, you know, you do work on yourself for the first hour of each day. And if that means getting up an hour earlier, do it. Because the person you'll be all day, you'll actually come home more energized and a more loving person through just taking that time each morning. You're all topped up. So you have resources to give. Yeah. And I love how you talk about that. And I mentioned I've just literally moved back to Australia from South America. And one of the things that I've been back a week, and yesterday I just started my physical exercise routine and getting back into eating healthy and exercising and moving my body and putting those, you know, physical things in place that allow me to feel secure and solid. So I bring that to my work, to my relationships and all of that. And then coming back to that mentally and emotionally and spiritually, like you talked about, what are the words that you're using to talk to yourself? What's your inner dialogue like? Are you starting your day going, oh, you know, I look fat, or I'm not eating well, or I can't do this, or I don't know how? What's your inner dialogue? And is it loving, kind, and nurturing for you? Exactly. And that's actually one process that I highly recommend to people, is to look at what their calendar is for the day, what everything they're doing, and to visually walk themselves through each of those appointments that they have all day. And it might be that they're at their desk all day or whatever it is, but to walk yourself through it, preempt, you know,
something that might come up, a conversation that may happen, anything that may happen, preempt it, and then bring the person that you want to be for the best outcome for every single scenario, so that you know that you are going to have an amazing day because you've walked yourself through it. So you've already lived it. So there will be very few surprises, and there'll be very few situations where you'll go, oh, I could have handled that a bit better.
Yeah.
Or, something like that. And that's a process that I also do at the end of the day, which is, review your day. Ask yourself the questions. What did I do today I will do exactly the same next time? Yeah. What will I do today that I'll do differently next time? What did I learn today, either about myself, someone else, the world? Always constantly checking in to see that you are learning and growing, that, I like to say you're only in competition with yesterday me. And realize that. See how yesterday me has grown today.
Yeah.
And, how you will continue to grow. Because it's really about tracking your life. And I must admit, I handed my life over to the flow of whatever. Yeah. Most of my jobs I fell into, sort of thing. I didn't even consciously say this is the role I want. And it's quite interesting when you are not planning your life the way you should. One of the first exercises I do with everyone I work with is to have them define what success means to them.
Yeah.
Most people hasn't. Most people have taken on someone else's definition and they're wondering why it's not working for them.
Yeah.
It might be too low, the bar, or could be too high for you. And deep down, it might be something that, why am I struggling for this? I really don't want it. I don't want all these things. I would rather have, a little shack on the beach and, it's really interesting. There's an old story, and I'm pretty sure you've probably heard it, about this fisherman who is in this sort of Italian little village. Have you heard this story?
I have, yeah. But I'd love for you to share it with listeners.
Yeah. So this little fisherman, he's out and in this Italian village, and he, goes out every morning and he fills his boat full of fish, and then he comes back, and then he, goes and spends a little bit of time with his kids, and then he has lunch with his family, and then he goes out and has a great time with his mates in the afternoon, and then every day is the same. And this American corporate CEO sort of watches him for a couple of days, and he says to him, why do you only fish in the morning? Why don't you fish all day long? He says, you could really make a lot of money, and you could do this, and you could grow your businesses, and you could get, 10 boats, and you could really become all this sort of great thing. And then he goes, and then when you retire, you'll be very wealthy. And he goes, but what will I do when I'm retired? And he explained exactly what he's doing now. And he goes, I'm doing that now. Why would I go down that road when I've already got everything I require?
Yeah.
And it's so true. So many times we are chasing something that isn't even our success guideline, and we don't ask ourselves the questions.
Yeah, or things that don't feel loving or kind or nurturing for ourselves. They just add stress and expectation, whether it's too high or too low, like you said, to how we're meant to be living our life based on other people's perceptions. So I really like how you talk about that and bring that in, because, after living in South America and Colombia in particular for 2.5 years, I've seen what it's like to have not much in terms of
happy, are they?
In terms of possessions, and yeah, they are. They've been voted the world's happiest people a couple of times, and so it's really interesting our perceptions of what happiness is and what success looks like. So. And I like how you talk about starting your day and walking through the day and that side of things. But I also love that you talk about the reflection, because one of the things I do with clients is ask yourself and reflect on what would you stop, what would you change, and what would you start?
Yes.
So it's very similar and you know, a similar process, but that's how we learn. That's how we grow. That's how we start to understand. And I come back to one of your pillars about you, how we learn what we need.
Exactly. And we get the experiences that we need as well.
Yeah.
I'm a great believer that we're all here, you know, spiritual beings having a earthly experience so that we can develop more on a soul level. And it's, when you look at life from that, it's a lot easier to go, oh my God, why is this always coming at me? You know, like I could, you know, my second book, which is I call it Beyond a Mother's Worst Nightmare. And it's the journey at that stage of 4 years after Dan passing. And I've had a lot of people respond to me sort of saying, oh my God, thank you for this book. You know, my son committed suicide 3 years ago. I've hardly been able to carry on. I can see now how I can. And that's why I wrote that book, because so many people don't come out of the experience with looking at it from a different perspective of, okay, what am I meant to learn here? How am I meant to grow? And, you know, what's the lesson? And just only a few years ago, I looked at the word lesson. I was talking to a lady about it. And then I went, oh, my God. And she went, what? And I said, I've never realised it before, the word lesson. Like, as soon as you get the lesson, it's less on you. So our language is telling us how to live our life, you know, and really when you do look for that lesson, and you will always gain something. You know, we live in a magnetic field, so you can't lose without gaining. Yeah. And it's looking for what you've gained through the experience is where you can really have amazing growth. And a lot of the time, we don't realise that our disease is actually because we're not living the life the way we should be. Yeah. You know, and we're carrying all these resentments and bitterness, which are going to turn into disease.
Yeah, yeah. And they do come out in the physical body, don't they?
Yes, totally. And I love that, you know, Louise Hay's book, you know, You Can Heal Your Life. Whenever anyone says they're feeling this or that, I always run to the book and I look it up and I'll say to them, does this make sense? And they'll go, oh, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
You know, and it always does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm aware of our timing, and I want to talk to you about a little bit touching on relationships, and I want to touch on wealth, because that's one of the areas that you talk about is wealth and business and how people go after wealth and focus on that. Talk to me a bit about that.
So, let's go back to my, you know, like I was on an amazing salary. You know, I was earning $300,000 but I was wasting so much of it just to get through the day. And if you know what I mean, like I was eating too much, drinking too much, and I've worked so hard, I deserve this. I'm going to go and buy this. And because I wasn't connected to the true me, I wasn't living like I was loving myself. I was spending like I didn't love myself. So I wasn't looking after future me. Okay. So I love yesterday me and future me and all those sort of things. But we need to understand that what we do today, our choices that we make will affect future me. Now, I'm not saying that you save everything and you don't spend, you don't have a good time, but you should be saving, and this is the best way to build your wealth, is put 10 to 15% away of everything you earn into an account that you cannot touch. Yep. Pay yourself first. You're the one that's doing all of the efforts, right? So when you pay yourself first, what happens is you go, great, I've rewarded myself. Yep. But we all know that expenditure has a habit of rising to meet income, okay? No matter what you earn, every time you get a pay rise, all of a sudden you go, I don't even, you know, where it's gone. Like an extra $100 a week, but I don't know where it's going. I'm certainly not saving it. And that's what you should be doing. You should be paying yourself first, and it will build. And, we all know compound interest and how that just sort of compounds, and it just sort of happens. So that's the first thing for wealth creation, is to understand that, but also to look at what you're actually spending your money on. And if you're not aware, you will waste a lot of money. And, it's ridiculous. We don't need everything we think we need.
Yeah.
And even recently I read a post from Steve Jobs when he was passing, and even he, let's face it, if you wanted to define success, I'm pretty sure most people would say Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
But he had the wealth, but he didn't have the other. Like, he died of pancreatic cancer, right? Now, that in itself is a bitterness that he's holding. It's close to the heart. So he didn't have the love and the relationships and all the other things. And a lot of people say that he wasn't even a nice man to work for.
Right.
So he had it, right? But he didn't have it because he wasn't embracing all four pillars. He was obviously killing himself, literally, to get that wealth. And then he says, what's the difference? And I always say this as well. What's the difference between a $10 bottle of wine and a $100 bottle of wine? It's $90, especially when you're onto your second bottle sort of thing. It doesn't taste any different. And sure, your hangover may be a little bit better the next day, but let's face it. And as he said, living in a 300 square house to a 3,000 square house, is it any different?
No.
And for him to reflect back on his life the way he did in this post that I saw, it just brought home even more why Live, Love by Design is so important. To define what success means in every single area of your life, and then to say, this is what I want, this is where I am, let's close the gap. What are the action steps to close that gap?
Yeah. Because
that's what life's about.
Yeah.
And then when you get and have closed the gap, you then up the ante, because we have a habit of playing small.
Exactly. And I like how you talk about when you get there, up the ante, because, we do all have goals, intentions, and things that we want to achieve or experience in life, depending on our version of success.
Yes.
Depending on our version of wealth. And
exactly,
our version of wealth might be financial. It might be wealth in relationships. It might be wealth of experiences and traveling the world or whatever.
Exactly. Yes.
It's all different for each and every one of us. So when we achieve one thing, we do need to look at what next. And asking ourselves, where am I playing small? And how can I then step up and be the best and biggest version of me possible? Because when you show up small, you bring that to your relationships, whether it's romantic relationships, family, friends, or your business. You bring that smallness, and you'll attract people with that same energy back in. So I want to invite listeners that are listening to the show today to play bigger and ask yourself.
I totally agree. How, as Mary Williams said, always has said, we're not scared of the little things. We're scared of being successful.
Yeah.
So you've got to break through that comfort zone, and you've got to go and get it.
Yeah.
Because we are here to achieve, and we are here to shine our light. So go and do it, and stop deferring and stop giving your life away to other people. This is the only time you are going to be here as who you are today and in this lifetime. So make the most of it. Because next time you're going to be completely different, with completely different lessons to learn and growths to have. So really honour who you are, no matter how you look. And this is a great exercise too that I love to do in a workshop is I love to say to people, write down your ideal way that you would like to look, and we go through the exercise and then, I'll get everyone to stand up and I'll say, okay, sit down if you have changed, your nose, we go through the whole thing. And after 2 or 3, everyone sat down. And then it becomes an awareness of, isn't it funny that none of you wanted to be who you are today? Yeah. But you did this exercise before you came down here. You chose how you were going to look. You chose your parents. You chose everything that was going to happen to you so that you could grow. So what has happened in your life that you now do not want to be that person? You don't want to look that way. You don't want to, feel that way. So what is it that has, and let's start honouring your initial decision of who you were going to be in this lifetime and who you're going to hang out with so that you can actually achieve everything you want to do.
Yeah, and I really love how you talk about that because, I'm reminded of some clients I've worked with in the past who, and we both do some similar work with transforming lives and creating the life that we want or designing the life that we want. And, I'm aware that some people are choosing to stay small or to stay stuck or to not take responsibility for what's not working in their lives. And, I'm reminded of a client who I ended up ending the coaching relationship with because there was so much resistance there and so much of I'm doing all I can do. Okay. Then if you're doing all that you can do, then that's where we need to leave it.
Because I can't help you anymore. And good on you for doing that.
You can't ask someone to grow more than they're willing to. And you have to honour where someone's at. And if they're not ready to learn and grow and change and transform, even though they might mentally think they are, physically, emotionally and spiritually, they're not willing to do the work that it takes to get there. And I love how you talk about that because
thank you.
Transformation takes a conscious choice every single day. And designing your life takes a conscious choice every day to look at and to reflect on what it is you want to create. So thank you for sharing that wisdom. And for those listening today, if you are ready to change and shift and design your life and to live love by design, please make sure you connect with Karen or myself after the show. So, Karen, can you share with people where they can connect with you?
Yes, so they can connect with me on my websites. I've got a couple. So the first one is livelovebydesign.com. Also there they can download a free PDF copy of the book, Live Love by Design, which is a really great book. It's got like 72 exercises in it, so it's really a great way to get started. Also my other website, which is Karen Chaston, CHASTON.com.au. And, of course, they can, always just reach out because not only do I work individually, I love to go into businesses and to bring this awareness into them. A lot of people are, struggling for profits. They're struggling with staff, productivity, all of those things. Once you bring this awareness into the workplace, it will be a more conducive workplace. It will be a place where you will actually, cut down staff turnover, cut down staff sick leave. But more importantly, you will actually fulfill your number one mandate, which is to increase the assets of your company through having your employees more aware, giving them time to innovate, to be more creative. It's just an amazing way to transform your business, and it's so easy to do just by having your employees healthy and happy. It's amazing.
Yeah. And I think we all need to be mindful of that within business because business is about relationships and connections.
Yes, totally.
And, we are the rock, we are the foundation of that business, that connection, those relationships and everything that we create in our lives. So thank you. And those listening, please make sure you connect with Karen further on her websites and
Thank you.
Sign up for that free book, which I'm going to check out as well. So thank you.
Go for it.
And for
I just love it. And
yeah.
that book came to me so quickly, and sure it was, the compilation of the past 4 years, though I just know that, just setting it out, I even credit Dan, there's a photo of him in at the back as a co-author, because he does guide me all the way through, which is great.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much for connecting with me today, Karen, and for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom with listeners.
Oh, thank you, Leanne. I've loved chatting with you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. We could keep talking all day. So we might need to get you back later for a different episode.
I'd love to.
Awesome. You. And for those of you who want to connect with me further, jump on my website, thebarefootmedium.com.au, and check out my readings and coaching programs, and also my book, Shifting Your Shit to Achieve Your Dreams. For those of you who want to work through some practical tools and techniques to get more conscious and more aware of what's going on in your life and to create your reality. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, and wherever you are at in your journey, I wish you a loving, joyful, and abundant and wealthy and successful life, and reach out when you need help and support. And I look forward to connecting with you on the next episode of Barefoot Radio.